guys, today I'm going to show you 3 different ways on how to add and create light sources in Photoshop 2020. And I'm going to start right now. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. My name is James, and if it is the very first time to this channel and you want to learn all about Photoshop, Lightroom and everything photography related, start now by subscribing and hitting the bell so you don't miss anything. So in this tutorial guys, I'm going to show you 3 different ways on adding and creating light sources in Photoshop. Now I have a similar video to this, and it's called how to turn daytime photos into nighttime or dusk photos. But today I'm just going to focus on an in-depth kind of tutorial on how to create different type of light sources for this effect and for a bunch of other effects. So the first way, I'm going to show you how to create non-directional light sources. So these are traditional light bulbs, house lights, lamps, things of that nature. The second type of effect I'll be showing you is directional light. So this is more from a car headlight or from a torch or maybe from a lamp post, for instance, shining down onto the ground. And then the third effect, I'm going to show you how to create neon light. So for instance, if you're taking a photo of a shop front and you want to add some neon light to it, I'm going to show you how you can create this effect today. So guys, if you want to have a look at any of the pre-selected photos that I found work really well creating these 3 different types of effects, make sure you go to the link in the description and you can download them all from there so you can follow along with the same photos that I'll be using. And also guys, if you want to download any of the light overlays that I'll be using in this tutorial, go to the other link in the description and you've got 50 to choose from, which is perfect for all types of photos. But without further ado, let's get started. Okay guys, so the first effect we're going to create is a non-directional light source. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be adding light from a dark building. So what we're going to do is download the first photo, and the first photo is of this nighttime shot of a house. And what we're going to do is we're going to add in some light. Now I'm only going to add it in to one window today, but if you'd like you can add it into all of them. But just to save a lot of time, I'm just going to show you how to create the effect and then you can add it to the rest of the windows. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in light to the bottom windows here. So what we want to do is we want to create a selection. So I'm going to use the pen tool. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go around the outside of the window. So we're just going to select it just like so. Click around. Brilliant. And we've made the selection. And again guys, if you want to select the rest of the windows, you can. So once we've made the selection, what you want to do is go to our Paths tool. And we just want to double click on that Path tool. And what it will do is it will save it as a path. So we can just name it. So I'm just going to name it as default, and we're going to press OK. So once we've got the path, what you want to do is hold down Command, and you just want to click on it. And what that will do is it will turn it into a selection. So when we go back to our Layers panel, what we want to do is just add a very slight blur to this selection, or a slight feather to the edge. So what we can do is go up to Select, we want to go to Modify, and we want to go down and select Feather. So once we've selected feather, we want a very slight feather, so I would say 1 or 2 pixels. In this particular instance, we're going to select 2, and we're just going to press OK. So what we need to do now is to make a colour. Now I find the best way is to create a solid colour layer, because that means we can change it afterwards. So we go down to our adjustment layers on the bottom right hand corner down here. We want to click and go all the way to the top, and we want to select solid colour. And what that will do is it will colour it a particular colour. So we've chosen white in this instance, but you can choose any colour you like. So I'm going to choose a yellow. I'm just going to choose an ever so slight yellow to give a nice warmth to the image, like it's kind of like a late winter's day and you've got the light kind of bleeding through. But at the moment, it's not looking very realistic at the moment, and it's not working. So what we need to do is change its blending mode. So what we want to do is go to our blending mode options, which is found just next to opacity up here. We want to go down all the way down to linear dodge add. And then once we select that, we just want to turn down the fill, as the fill will reduce the projection and not the opacity. So we're going to reduce this down all the way to probably around 80%. Lovely. And as you can see, this glow is looking a lot more realistic. But there's one more thing we need to do. So we need to create this kind of outer glow. As it's non-directional, because the glow will be fairly all over the image, we just want to add it around where the window is to create this nice realistic glow. So the way we can do this is just by duplicating this layer. So press Command J on our keyboard, that will duplicate the layer, and we just want to delete this layer mask. So if we right click on that layer mask and just go to delete layer mask. And what we want to do now is just have it selecting to a certain area. So if we hold down Alt to create a new layer mask, it will create a completely black layer mask, as you can see. So we can start painting onto the image. So if we go to our brush tool, we want a nice big soft brush. So we go for something around 500 pixels and hardness of 0. And we just need to press click once. Making sure we've got white selected, just click once. And as you can see, it's created this nice glow, but it's way too strong. So all we need to do is remember, guys, to turn the fill, because that will reduce the amount of projection in the image, all the way down to a amount that you would like. So we'll go for something like so. Lovely. So if we zoom out, as you can see, we've got a nice realistic glow. What we can also do is, if we just turn that layer off for the moment, this particular window has got some kind of hashed lines through it. So what you can do is just go with the brush tool, you can just remove those lines from the layer mask. So all we need to do is make sure we've got black selected, and you just want to paint away those sections in the layer mask. And it might add just a little bit of realism to this photo, a little bit of small details. So again, we turn that back on again. And as you can see, if we zoom out, it's created a little bit more of a realistic effect. And I think we can turn the brightness of this back up to around 50%. Lovely. So there we go, guys. That is how you create non-directional light in Photoshop. So the next one we're going to be creating is directional light. And what we're going to do is we're going to work on this image here, and we're going to work on the headlights to make it look like the headlights are on. Now there's two ways of creating this. We can either use a lines and using effects in Photoshop, or we can add an overlay. So I'm going to show you both today. So what we're going to do is go create a new layer. So make sure we've got a new layer selected. We want to go to the pen tool. So we go press P on our keyboard, or we can also use the lasso tool. So all we need to do is make a selection, and we're just going to select roughly where you would like to add a projection to the image. So we want to project some of the light from this all the way, so project it outwards like so. Once you've made this selection, all we need to do is go to the brush tool, so that's B on our keyboard, and we want to select a colour that's found within the headlight. So as you can see, we've got this fog light here, and we've got the kind of angel eyes that go around the edge. We just want to select that white, so we take it from the image, and then we just want to paint onto here. But at the moment, because the selection is harsh, what it will do is it will create a harsh line. So if we do that, as you can see, we've got this projection looking like here. So once we've created that, press Command D to deselect it, and all we'll need to do is change the blending mode back to screen, or you can again always use linear dodge add, as it does add a nice brightening effect to the image. So we'll choose something like this, and all we need to do is just blur it. So the way we can blur it is by going to Filter, go to Blur, and then go to Gaussian Blur. And then depending on the size of the image and the amount of blur that you would like for this, you can just increase the amount of blur to that area and create the effect. And then again, guys, you can always reduce the fill to the amount that you are happy with. And again, you want to do this to the other headlight. Brilliant. But I don't really find this effect works, and I think that a little bit of texture to this would work better. So the way we can do that is by using a light overlay. Now if you go to the link in the description, there's 50 light overlays you can choose from. So I really like for headlights, light rays 31. So you can find that in the link in the description. I'm going to drop that in here. And the reason I quite like this particular one is because it has got texture to the light rays. So as you can see, we zoom in, it's got a little bit of texture to it, which is perfect for what we're after. So what we want to do is just make it to the right size. So we're going to increase the size and move it to roughly around here. And again guys, we want to turn this to screen. A screen removes black but keeps white. So we'll go to remove screen, and as you can see, this effect is working really nicely. So what we're going to do is press Command T on the keyboard, or that will bring up the free transform. We just want to make it to the right size. So you can hold down Shift to increase the height and width, like so. Lovely. And what we're going to do is probably just work on that one, and then what we'll do is we'll press Command J to duplicate it, and press Command T to transform it, and just move it to this side. And I think what we're going to do is just flip this one 180 degrees. Lovely. And as you can see, it's creating this really nice effect, and it's kind of looking like it's a little bit smoky because it's got a little bit of texture to the light source. So what we can do is just group these together, and I think just to increase the brightness, I think what we're going to do is just press Command J, and that will duplicate it. And I think again we're going to drop the opacity to around 50%, just to increase it just by 150%. So we've got two sources over here. But again guys, we want to colorize this. So the best way to colorize it is if we just want to group all of that together, press Command G on our keyboard to group it. So as you can see, we've got the whole light source is just in one group now. What we can do is add a hue and saturation layer, and just to colorize it an ever so slight blue, because I feel that that will create a quite realistic effect to this. So we're going to go to hue and saturation in our adjustment layers found in the bottom right hand corner. What we want to do is make sure we've clipped it to this layer. So we can press this little icon just at the bottom right hand side here, and what that will do is it will clip it. But once we clip it, what it will do is it will remove all of the blending modes. So we just want to go to our group here. You can see where it says paths through. What that will do is our new blending mode, and we just want to remember we want to use the blending mode previously, which was screen. And as you can see, it's turned it back again. That's what happens if you add any adjustment layers after you've changed the blend mode and then grouped it. And what we want to do is just colorize it. But at the moment, if we change the hue, changing the hue of white isn't going to change anything. So all we need to do is colorize it. So all you need to do is press this little button at the bottom here. That will colorize the image. And all you need to do now is just move the hue to your desired color. So I think we'll go for something like so. And again guys, you can always increase the amount of saturation, so that will really make it blue, or we can decrease the amount of saturation. So we just want a slight tint to this color. So we'll go for a tint of around, I think 20 will work perfectly. Now I think there's one more thing we can do to make this look realistic, and we can add in a lens flare. So again guys, you can go to the link in the description, you can find a lens flare that will work. So there's a bunch of lens flares you can use, but I find the lens flare that works perfect for this particular effect is one of the very last ones in the pack, and that is lens flare 46. So we'll add in lens flare 46 here. This is quite a nice blue. Just increase the size slightly, and again guys, remember we want to remove the black. So what blending mode are we going to use? We're going to use screen. Screen removes black but keeps white. And there we go. So we've added in a little bit of lens flare there, and we're just going to rotate it ever so slightly. And then again wise, we want to duplicate it to the previous layer. So we want to Command J on our keyboard, that will duplicate it. And then you want to press Command T or go up to Edit, Free Transform. And we just want to move it, probably make it slightly smaller. So we'll just use one of these little anchor points, and then I think we'll rotate it slightly, just to make it look so it doesn't look like a copy. And then we go, if we zoom out, if we press down Alt and on the first layer here, that'll be the before and after, it's added in these really nice textured looking foggy light source. And this is how to create directional light. Okay guys, so brilliant. What we're going to do is they're the first two options to create non-directional and directional light. The last thing we want to do is to create neon light. So what we're going to do is go to our last photo, which is photo 3, and it's a photo of these neon lights and they're currently off. So what we want to do is turn them on. So we're just going to work, or for this tutorial, we're just going to work on the, which is this section of letters here. But again guys, you can do it to the whole photo if you would choose. So we're going to just make the, first we want to make a new layer. So firstly we want to create a new layer to add in the glow. And then what we want to do is go to our brush tool, so that's B on the keyboard, or you can find it on the left hand side here, and you want to create a brush area of the white sections of the neon section of these lights. So we want the brush of roughly the same size as the neon light. We want to click, and then you want to hold down shift, and you can draw a straight line with the brush tool like so. So we want to do that with all of the areas, as you can see. So we'll go down, try and cover it as much as possible, like so. Go along here, draw the edge, try and be as careful as you can. Try and make sure that the brush isn't too harsh but also not too soft. So probably around hardness of around 50 to 45%. And what you want to do is end up with an effect that looks similar to this. So what we need to do now is just add a few effects and change the blending mode. So what we want to do is just change the blending mode so it brightens it slightly. So we're going to go to our blending mode options, and if we want to brighten, we want to choose screen, as screen brightens the area. So we'll choose screen, and what you can do is just reduce the opacity ever so slightly, like so. Brilliant. So we've got so it's a little bit transparent so we can see the edge. But what we need to do now is add in the glow. So what we need to do is bring up our layer stylizing box. So what we need to do is just go to our layer 1, and we're going to probably just rename it to glow, and we just want to double click on that layer, and that will bring up our layer stylizing box. So as you can see, we've got a bunch of styles we can add. The one we want to choose is the one penultimate to the bottom, so this one here, outer glow. And all we need to do is click once. So when it pops up with this box, you've got, if I just reset it to the default, we've got a bunch of different modes. So what we want is, this will be our color. So the first thing we'll do is choose the color. So I think we're going to choose red in this instance. And then what we want to do is change between range and size. So if we increase the range, very nice. And then we increase the size and decrease the range, depending on what area you'd like. And we can also increase the opacity. So if we increase the opacity to 100%, and then we probably decrease the range and decrease the size until you're happy with a nice realistic effect. Now with our contour, we want to make sure that we select this one here, because what it will do is it will go right to the edges, and we can see the preview in our layer stylizing box here. Lovely. So once you're happy with that effect, what we can do is we can just press Command J. What that will do is that will duplicate the layer. We want to make sure the bottom layer has a slightly larger outer glow. So we're just going to increase that size to around here, and we're just going to decrease the range. Lovely. And what you can do is reduce the fill, just so it doesn't affect the brightness of the interior lights. And again guys, you can always go back into here, and you can always go and change your color up at the top here. You can also change the type of gradient if you are after that. And if you want to make it pop ever so slightly, what you can do is darken the background. So we can go to our background layer, we can just go to our brightness and contrast, and we can just reduce the amount of brightness. And as you can see, the neon glow brightens up slightly more. But make sure guys that we've got the neon glow above our contrast, brightness and contrast layer, otherwise it will also darken that. So if I have that at the top, as you can see, it's darkening it all completely. Where if you just have it affecting the background layer, you can see that it pops a little bit more. And if we hold down Alt, you can see the before and after. Brilliant, and there we go guys. So there are 3 ways of creating light sources. So that is non-directional, directional and neon light in Photoshop 2020. Brilliant, and there we go guys. So that is how you can create the 3 different types of light sources in Photoshop 2020. So we've got the non-directional type of light, we've got the directional, and then we've also got neon light. Again guys, if you want to like, comment and subscribe to my channel, it really does help my channel grow. Also, if you want to hit the bell notification so you don't miss any of my future content. Also guys, I've got a bunch of designs for t-shirts and jumpers on the Teespring store. So if you want to go and help out this channel, it's the best way to help me out. Go and have a look. And I've got a bunch of designs and I update that every single week. But until next time guys, keep creating.